No, it definitely is, and I think sometimes people need to hear that, right? Because sometimes you feel like it's not possible, and you hear stories and people say, "Oh, you go for help and you're able to like get through it," but it's just so
Mhm.
much harder than that. How long had you been dealing with this issue, and when did you know you had when did you realize you had a problem?
Um, so it started on like, I dibbled and dabbled like throughout my life, right? I started, with drinking and other substances when I was very young, a teenager, experimenting or whatever. Uh, but throughout my life, it was always like an on and off thing. But I'd say when my dad passed away, January 1st, 2020, that's when it was because I a lot of the things that I dealt with in my life I kept inside and I never dealt with. And when my dad passed away, it was like finally the soda bottle that I was shaking exploded, and that was the catalyst to that whirlwind that I that I went through. Um, and then so my dad passed away January 1st, 2020, and then the pandemic happened. The world shut down in March, right? So I found out my dad passed away when I was at work at Daly's place. So I had to fly back to New York, deal with everything, and then I just took 2 weeks off and I went back on the road. And then pandemic happened. We were back at Daly's place. So every single week I was back at the place that reminded me of when I lost my father. So how I dealt with that with, you know, numbing myself, sort of say. And that's how I was able to get through it. Just I to this day hate Daly's place and hate Jacksonville, Florida, because it just reminds me of the day that I got the news and I had to rush out of there. So, but yeah, so after losing him, having to deal with the pandemic, world shut down, then going back to the same place where I got the news and being reminded of that day every week. Um, Plus dealing with my own internal personal stuff, everything just started snowballing, and it went from something that I was all right, I'm just doing this on the road just to get by or whatever, but then I knew it was a problem when I had to start numbing myself when I got home, and my body was already accustomed and already had gotten used to the drinking or whatever. So like I couldn't last more than a day or two without, you know, self-medicating because my body was already used to it. And that was like, all right, now I have a problem. And again, dealing with shame and dealing with guilt. I didn't speak about it to anybody. I was able to hide it. And then finally, when I got hurt, I'm home now. And by that point, I was already an addict, you know, and there was no way of hiding it anymore. And being out for days on end, disappearing, that's when I was like, all right, yeah, it's an issue because now, like, now my body needs it.